Hey viewers, welcome back to the channel. The video today, we're working on the bleeping Jeep. Tried to go to drive it and it wouldn't move. And then so I proceeded to try to move it harder and it kind of moved. Well, 3 out of the 4 wheels moved. This one didn't. So what we had was a seized wheel bearing, which is not fun. So that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna try to do a little more, kind of show you what I do as I go. Certainly I've had that request from some subscribers, and so this one I think is an opportunity I can do that. So here's where we're at. She's taken apart, and boy was it rough. So everything was rust welded together pretty much. So it took about 5 pounds of persuasion in order to and a lot of meat, you know, kind of just muscle to get it all apart. I mean, the wheel would not even rotate, and when I was able to get the wheel to rotate, it'd go for a little bit and then seize up. I tried to get it spinning freely first. I took off the tire, and then you can see there's the old wheel bearing. What I did was I did a combination of taking pry bar, see if I can do this right, and kind of lock it in there, because I knew the wheel bearing was bad, so I didn't care about, you know, boogering up the threads or anything. So I just did that to kind of get the wheel rotating back and forth. And then when that didn't work, I resorted to that big cheater pipe there, and that just fit in the slots, you know, in between those wheel studs. To get it moving, ultimately didn't matter because I couldn't get it to spin freely. So I said, okay, forget it, we'll just take it apart. So I proceeded to take it apart. Everything was rust welded together. I had to beat on this thing, PB blaster, the whole works, but she's apart. So a couple things to be advised. First off, see there's the brake, you know, the brake line, right, going into that thing. That that fitting, right, that thing was actually seized up really good, where when I started to undo it, it was actually twisting the hard line because it was all seized up here. So I had to be very careful working it back and forth with PB blaster, trying to hold the line to get it to move enough to where I could get that that bolt to move independent of the hard line. You need flare nut wrench. I don't think it's optional for this kind of stuff. Get a flare nut wrench. In the case of this Jeep Patriot, it's a 12 millimeter, so you don't have to go back to your toolbox twice. This one's from Tecton. I love this wrench. You can't buy these anymore. They don't make them. I don't know why. Tecton makes every other type of wrench imaginable, and they're wonderful, but they don't make the flares anymore. So, but give a flare nut, set of flare nut wrenches. So there's the brakes in pieces. We're basically going to rebuild everything. So this is about the only part I'm going to save. The rest of the brakes and the wheel bearing, it's all getting replaced. So I will come back when I've got further along and show you where we're at. All right, viewers, I'm back. Progress. We got the new hub installed. It was a pain to line up all those bolts, because basically the stack on these bolts, you thread them from the back, and then you have a spacer plate, which I don't know if you can see it back there, kind of sandwiched there. You got the spacer plate, then you got this kind of backing shield, and then you got the hub itself. All of these are floating in space, not attached to anything, that you have to then get all 4 bolts in there. So I started with one and was able to get one threaded, and then so on and so on. It's just a pain in the butt, so be advised. Thing I wanted to show you here is, so this hardline brake line I told you about had problems with. So this thing is still kind of seized, or the nut, you know, the flare end, right, is still kind of seized up a little bit, where it spins freely, but it won't slide in and out of the collar, you know, so it's kind of wonky. So I have a real concern about cross threading. So what I have decided to do, and it seems to work, is I've got a new wheel cylinder here, okay, since I'm rebuilding all the brakes. New wheel cylinder, and what I've done is, rather than mount it first and then try to thread that flare fitting, there's enough play in this hose and this line where I can pull it through like this, and I can spin this guy. And so you get your angle just right, you have just enough clearance to spin this guy on first to make sure you do not cross thread that thing. So I am on, threads are spinning freely, so now I can push it through right? Theoretically, should be like that. All right, I can push it through, bolt it up, and then finish tightening. So that is if you encounter a rusted brake line fitting, which I don't think I've ever encountered one that isn't. That's a trick that might help you. So onward we go to rebuilding this thing, and thanks for coming along. All right, viewers, we're back, and we got this side, all the brakes rebuilt now. So a couple things so that you don't stumble like I did. Number one, I think the best order of operations on this is how I ended up doing it after, you know, taking it apart and redoing it 3 times. Put this pad in, or this shoe in with this, you know, retaining spring and clip here first. Then attach the green spring, well, that. Then take your other shoe, attach the parking brake cable way back in there. Right, you can kind of see that little spring. Attach the parking brake cable. Note that when you swap these out, this little trailing arm here that attaches to your parking brake, that is transferred over from your existing parts. The shoes do not come with that new part, so you basically have to, there's a clip, like a pinch clip on here that you'll have to, in my case I destroyed to get it off, and then the new shoes come with new clips to attach it. So do all that as an assembly, and then that green screen in the back, spring in the back, attach it first. So here, and then now you've got a free floating shoe to attach that to, and then snap all that into place in the wheel cylinder grooves there, and then attach, put this other retaining spring in. Now these, I don't have the fancy tool to put those on. It would have made it easier. What I ended up doing was this, basically. So put your channel locks, or in my case these were, you know, these kind of pliers. I don't know what they're called, but this is what I got. So set them to where the jaws are wider, right? So framing, I'm doing this one-handed, so sorry. All right, set them to where the jaws are wider, like that. So then, all right, wide jaws, clip on here like that. Grab that retainer like that with one hand and use that to guide it on. That way you can put your other hand on the back side of that pin, compress it, and then as you compress it, you can then turn it, you know, 90 degrees, right, once the pin goes through to engage it. That's what worked for me. So I don't know how you're supposed to do it other than use the special tool, but that's how I did it and what worked for me. I think the key thing is get a pair of pliers, straight jaws, right, that have the grooves, right, so that you can grip, they can slide into there and grip onto the edge there. So use that. After that, all right, then probably your bottom spring here, and then then you put in your parking brake adjuster assembly here, and kind of snap that in and get it in those grooves, and then get your parking brake adjuster lever that is retained from your old kit, right, not a new part by default. It snaps in the groove there and kind of pivots, and then snaps in this groove here. And then last thing is this spring here, attach it here, stretch it all the way over here and snap it in that groove. And it's a pain in the butt, but you can get it, and that's it. And then brand new drum to slide over. So that is the job complete, and we have a wheel that spins now. So I hope you guys found this useful. I'm gonna quit filming because I gotta bleed these and then do the other side. Important, you open the brake system, bleed your brakes, make sure you get that right. Also make sure that this is adjusted properly. Test your parking brake to make sure that it actually engages the drum and things don't move, right? Make sure the brakes actually work, but be sure to definitely bleed it so you don't have any air bubbles in the system. So that's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.